That song is so beautiful. You know, that is what we are really doing. We are doing our personal journey through love and our I amness, but we're doing it for the greater well-being of us all. Because we know it begins within us. So whatever your spiritual practice, even if it's just listening to music, such as Karen Drucker, she's amazing, right? Oh, she's amazing. And just to talk about love, and talk about who we are, and the power that we have within us. You know, I've been saying a lot lately, we are so beautifully made. I don't think we understand just how beautiful and how powerful we are. And those are the gifts that we have been given through spirit, through our spiritual beingness and our humanness, how there's a coherence between it all. And so one of the gifts that we have been given, and you have heard it before, we talk about our intuition. You know, it used to be said many years ago that women's intuition, right? Who've heard that? Only women have intuition. No. We all have intuition. See, that's a belief out there that has been around for a long time. But after time, you know, we come to unity, we go to wherever we found spiritual food to learn more about who we are. And it's an awareness about everything. Because I know people who have come up to me and they had never heard of something before. And the same with me. There were some things that I started learning, I'm like, well, I don't get it. Have you ever been there? You learn something new and you're, oh no, I don't know if that resonates with me. So that's why I'm asking all of us to be open and receptive to finding out more about who we really are, what we have inside of us that helps to guide us along our journey. See, we have awakened to the point that we know there's just more to just getting up in the morning, getting dressed, doing our thing, whether it be going to work or play or whatever we do. And that's all part of being alive. That's all part of being human. But you know, we have guidance every day. Every day we are guided in ways beyond even our imagination. I like to call intuition the voice beyond reason. And we all have it. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Religious Science and Science of Mind, speaks of intuition as being God in humankind, in humans. Actually, he says God in man. But at that time, that meant everybody. But I changed it up. See? Intuition is a part of who we are. It's that Christ consciousness that's within us all. It's that higher self. And the same with Myrtle Fillmore. She believed that it is the voice of our soul, of our higher self, the Christ consciousness. And she says that intellect is reasoning, but intuition knows. We know what's right for us. And that's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all the stuff that we think we know that we may not. But this is about what we know about ourselves in the moment. So, how does that come through us? And before I move on to that, what are some other names for intuition? I said I believe, and that's a voice beyond reason. It's a hunch. And we get those hunches. How about gut feelings? We just have that gut feeling. And sometimes we don't know, well, if it's true intuition, we know that there's something there. But here's the question. Are we listening? And I say that, I'm looking at myself, so many times I've heard this voice, or this, I felt this feeling, and I want to do it my own way. And later on, of course, we realize, oh my goodness, I should have, well, I don't want to should on myself, but I could have listened to the guidance I was given, and maybe things would have turned out a little bit more to my liking. Anybody else have done that? Thank you. So let's hone back in to this gift that we have been given. And so, what are some of the ways that we get intuition? What are some of the ways that we hear it or feel it? Sometimes you've heard of this still small voice. You know, that's in between the thoughts, our thoughts that we're thinking about a lot of things, and all of a sudden this little voice comes through on something you may have wondered about, an answer to a question you may have had. It comes through there. Sometimes it comes through a feeling, that gut feeling, or that hunch we have. And sometimes we see it outside of ourselves. Say we have wanted to do something, or go somewhere, or any of the things that we may want. And we have let that go. We've let that thought go because we just have the thought. And anyway, at some point, we may see something. For instance, if you're looking for a job, maybe you want to look for another job. And you put it out of your mind because the busyness of the day keeps us going. And so you go out, and somewhere, wherever you go, all of a sudden you see this job advertisement. That's intuition. Especially if it grabs you and it grabs your attention. Does that make sense? Yes. I know a lot of times when we are out there, we don't realize that these things are happening because our intuition has set it forth. See, we think the outside is doing it for us, when in essence we are calling it forth. I know I was talking to someone earlier, how about the coincidences and synchronicity in our life? Okay, I'll tell you a quick story, how that happened. Many years ago, I wanted to go back to church. I hadn't been in a while, but I've had this calling since I was a child. But anyway, I did go to church for a while, then I quit and I hadn't been, but I still had this calling, this urge to want to go back to church. And of course, the first thing I thought of through my mind was, if I could always go back to where I went before. And another voice said, no, that's not for you. So, one day I was looking in the newspaper to find a movie. My girlfriend and I wanted to go see a movie. So I'm looking through the newspaper, and all of a sudden I stopped at this page, and it was the church listings. I wasn't looking for church to go in that moment. I had before, just had that desire. Well, it turns out I found this church that I passed by, incidentally, many times driving down the street, but never noticed it. So I went to that church. And the other side of that is, that's where I also met Mr. Don. And I wasn't looking for a relationship at the time at all. I was working on myself. In fact, we walked in simultaneously late. He held the door open for me. It gets better. Of course, we were friendly, but we didn't really know each other at all, But anyway, as time went on, and we did get together, which took over 3 years, by the way, he told me, he was the board president, and he put that ad in the newspaper. Think about that. Think about that. See, there's something inside of us that guides us, whether we're aware of it or not. But here's the thing. Sometimes we get mixed up with what's our intuition and what is our instinct. Instinct is different. We all have instinct. It's the natural reaction for all of us to fall into, but it has to do with survival. Just like animals. It's survival. What do we do to survive? And again, there's no right or wrong. I'm just trying to give us a little different, what the difference is, because some of the things that we think could be intuition comes from our anxiety. Maybe we are scared. And so something happens to help us, and we were saying things like, oh, well, that's why this happened. And that. We reason everything out. One of the things we human beings can do, we can rationalize anything. Is that right? No matter what it is. We're always reasoning. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not intuition. Intuition is when something happens, a coincidence or synchronicity, or a sentence or an answer where we don't even know why. And it's interesting, I know if your ministers are working on whatever you're working on, those things show up. And I know I've been thinking about intuition for the last few weeks. And it's showing up more because doing this work is so great because you open up more. You know, when you're a minister, you know. So recently, I had plans with a friend to go to lunch. And I just had this strong, strong feeling that we shouldn't go. And so we didn't. And fortunately, my friend understood. She just said, well, we'll go. And I still don't know why. And you know what? It's okay. We don't always have to know why. We are simply invited to accept it, trust it. See, that's the thing, trusting our intuition. That's huge. How many of you here have taken a leap of faith? And you're still standing. Woohoo! Yeah. I did that many years ago. I was so burned out on life. I quit my job with nowhere to go. Nothing. But it was, the words kind of just came out of my mouth that I didn't realize I was saying. And I'm still standing. And I was guided to a different path. A path I never thought I would take. Being a minister was not my conscious idea. And that's another story, which I won't go to all my stories. But it is interesting to note how my intuition, part of our intuition can also be a calling. Something we're to do. And so it is always a part of us that wants to do things our own way. So what happens, though, when we don't listen to our intuition? Yeah. It'll keep bugging us until we listen. It will. It will continue. If we have a thought over and over again, there must be something to it. Just like being a minister. And I'll just quickly say, I kept saying no and the universe kept saying, my intuition activated the universe, the people in it, to call me to be a support to a candidating minister at a retreat. And the first year I said, yes, that's okay. I would love to do that. I would be honored. But we have to get up at the crack of dark. After traveling all day, I had to get up at the crack of dark. So I said, this is wonderful, but next year I'm not going to do it. Well, I got the call. Regina, could you help support us again? And my intention was to say no thank you. What came out of my mouth? Yes. Who said that? See, it kept bugging me until I finally said yes. Working with this minister, she was awesome. That was it. When I sat outside, when she was being paneled, all these butterflies were flying around me, butterflies about transformation, and I said, okay. I surrendered. And it stopped bugging me ever since. Because I'm doing what I was called to do. And so what is it in your life that maybe has been bugging you or gnawing at you? Because each one of us has a gift to give. Each one of us has that. Whatever, it doesn't have to be grandiose like Oprah. And she followed her guidance, by the way. Because, see, God's dreams for us are much greater than our own. We just need to be present. And so when we step into our I amness, owning every gift that we have been given, like our intuition, that guidance that is always present. Always. Sometimes it'll just kind of sneak up on you. Like you've wanted to do something, as I mentioned before, and there's no time of when you could get the answer. But see, but that's the part where we let go and allow. See, I think most of our life, we feel we have need to control everything. It's about allowing, not controlling. Because controlling causes stress. I know, I've been a controller. So while we're thinking about this, while we have it in our consciousness, to tap into our intuition, I want us to recognize that we can tap into it more by doing our spiritual practice, being still, being at peace, allowing time to meditate. See, the meditation I did this morning was about opening up the channels so that we can hear more readily the intuition that is trying to guide us, for us to step out of the way. And I know that's difficult to do sometimes, because I know we know best. But see, the we know best, that it come from our higher self, our soul, that God, indwelling God within us. Our life will be a lot more peaceful. And even when we go through challenges, we'll be able to handle it better because we are continuing to allow that guidance to help us to move forward. So, while we're in this space, why don't we move into a short meditation? And just again, allow yourself to be present right here in this space. Allow ourselves to feel the chair that we're sitting in. Just relax into it. Feel the energy of your body. Feel your feet on the floor. And allow yourself to simply just totally relax into this moment. And bring up something in your mind's eye that has been speaking to you. that has been calling to you. Perhaps there's an answer you are awaiting. Just gently bring it up into your consciousness. And so knowing that it is the voice of your soul, your higher self, that is moving through you each and every day, I invite you to take a moment to simply listen, feel. Feel the vibration of the words, the thoughts. Feel your frequency rising up. Simply continue to allow. And whether you are receiving information or message right now or not, I invite you to simply let go and let God, let Spirit move through you. And know the answers do come. Recognize that it is in gratitude that we practice the presence of Spirit within us and as us. We allow it to move throughout the day as us, in peace and in service to each other, in service to ourselves, knowing that as we move in Spirit, we give others permission to do the same. For together, as one, we are empowered to be a part of the greater unfoldment of us all. So I invite you now to become present in this room, in your chair, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling renewed, refreshed, and more open and receptive to the voice beyond reason. And in this moment, we simply let all that go to allow Spirit to guide us. Thank you, life. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit, for this opportunity to raise consciousness within ourselves and to everyone alike who could not be here throughout the globe. And so it is. Amen.